This is the Albuquerque Business Podcast with your host, Jason Rigby. Each week, we interview leading local business leaders to inspire the vision and spirit that is in every entrepreneur, discussing strengths, weakness, strategies, systems, and the problems we can all solve together to fulfill a shared vision of a new future for Albuquerque.
All right, we're good to go. So what's up, man? How have you been?
Good. Having fun. Trying to learn life. You know how that goes. I mean, I've been watching a lot of your Instagram stories and then practicing daily disciplines, like we talked about before. So I'm just trying to, stay humble and grow and have a growth mindset and, be the best that I can be in everything I do, especially interacting with other people, so.
Yeah, dude. No, and honestly, I've noticed a lot of your content as well. And I've noticed that you've started to put out a lot more content than you used to. And
I'm not close to you, bro, but
yeah, but it's cool to see kind of like the no fear attitude that you have towards it now. It's just like, you know what, if I'm just chilling here in traffic, I might as well, be doing something with my time and maybe teaching other people like how I do certain things. Or even if you are in those moments where you're like, oh, honestly, guys, I'm actually pretty furious, but this is what I'm doing, and this is what you should probably do. Like, and it's cool because then they get to see that side of you, who's actually in the trenches. You know what I mean? You don't have it all figured out.
Right.
Nobody's got it all figured out, but you continue to just remain a student. And another thing too, man, is you've gotten a lot more people on the podcast too, and I like the diversity that you're continuing to kind of put forth with each interview. It's not just like one specific area or one specific thing. It's kind of like all these different areas. And so just to kind of begin with everything, how did you get into the podcasting thing? How was that? Like, were you here in Albuquerque and you started it, or was this something that you had started somewhere else?
I think, for me, I saw coming from Seattle to here, there's a town up in, right near Seattle called Tacoma. And 15 years ago, Tacoma this is going to lead into podcasting. 15 years ago, Tacoma, you wouldn't go downtown. Buses wouldn't even go down there because the gangs were so bad and, the crime was so horrific that the buses were getting held up. So they couldn't even put buses in areas. That's how. So when we look at Albuquerque and we look at, like the war zone in certain areas, buses are still running in there. But this town literally in 10, 15 years changed so dramatically that people love going to Tacoma now. And people that go to Seattle, they will go to the restaurants in downtown Tacoma by the waterfront where it's at. They were all old buildings. So for me to see a town transformed that way, for the positive, and then I was there a couple months back and I'm walking around downtown Tacoma at like 1:00 in the morning and there's hundreds of people walking around, couples just having a great time. And then I moved here from Seattle and I see Albuquerque being really the only city that's out there on the west side. San Antonio's grown, Austin's blew up, and it's, and then you look at Colorado, 25,000 people, a month are moving to Colorado, they say. California's all done. Washington's all done. Oregon's all done. Yeah. And Utah's pretty much done. They're tight in that little area. So really the only place that you have that has tons of land, very inexpensive to live, amazing weather, great culture, great food. People from here don't realize what they have. Mm-hmm. If we fix the crime situation and we get a lot of people that are coming in and we get these companies that are coming in creating these great jobs, Albuquerque 10, 15 years from now is going to be an amazing city. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to be light in this darkness that I feel like a lot of people are stuck in here in Albuquerque. Mm-hmm. I want to bring like light to it and show these businesses and show people and how amazing it is here. And that I had that guy on my podcast, which was great, and we talked about it before, but how that there's an abundance mentality. Like, it's not just a small piece of the pie. The pie can get bigger, and we can all have a piece of it, And so for me to start the podcast was all I wanted to do. My whole reasoning for starting it is to bring light to Albuquerque and to make sure that this city sees what it can become and what the people can be. I mean, you know, I have my NM United scarf back here. We're seeing 15,000 people show up to those soccer games, you know, and it's amazing to see the unity and to see the happiness and to see the families when you walk around at the isotopes. And, you know, for me, that's what I feel Albuquerque is, and that's what the future is going to be in it. And I just want to be a part of that. And so that's why I started a podcast, just solely for that, because I see the beauty of the city.
Yeah, no, you raised some excellent points too, because my wife and I were talking about this too. When we came back from Florida, we were noticing, we were like, hey, what kind of like theme parks do we have here or whatever. It's like, okay, we have Cliffs. And then you think about like how, like what the price is to go and stuff. And it's like, wow, when you actually go to other places, I'm like, dude, some of the theme parks are outrageous. It's like, it's insane the amount of money. Like I think it would have been like $36 per kid and then maybe like $50 for each adult. And you're just like, wait, hold on, what? And then I think people also just, they want to leave here, but I don't even think that they realize the impact on just like the way that each state's economy is. So like you're even if it's like a better living situation, you're probably going to downgrade in your pay overall if you move to that state or something like that. I mean, you might get an increase in pay, but the cost of living might skyrocket, or you might be in like a bad crime area, or I don't know, like it just, or you might be in a really good, like a no crime area. And then you're paying up the ass for just like a place that is maybe just this big too at that. It's just crazy. Like, and you're right. Like this city here, it's very cost effective. Like it's insane to kind of think about in hindsight, because it's like there really is nothing here at this point. But if you can literally like see the ways that it can grow and see the cost of living, like you said, and with all of the reasonable pricing on certain things, like it actually is crazy. And I think that when more people do actually move down here, it might hopefully raise the poverty level or lower the poverty level. Yeah. And give more people a purpose. You know what I mean? And that's what's important. That's what's important, man. And, so like going kind of further back, how was this? 'Cause I know you were a Marine, right?
Right. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So like so how did you transition from being a Marine and then ending up in Seattle? Like, how did you end up in Seattle?
So yeah, it's a fun. So this is all like super fun. So basically, what happened when I got out of high school, my dad was in the Marine Corps, so I decided to go in the Marines. You know, I didn't really have, you know, I didn't want to do the college thing. The military, you know, was like embedded in. My grandfather was, you know, in the Army. My other grandfather on my mom's side was, you know, in the Navy. So I just always liked the whole aspect of being in the military. So I joined the Marine Corps, went to, I was West Coast Marine, you know, I went to San Diego, you know, there. And then from there, I got out. I got stationed in Pendleton, went there, did infantry training, all that. And then I went over to North Carolina and was stationed there. And then once I got into the Marine Corps, then I learned, and you know, like being in the Marines, you're so young, you don't know, you know, you're just following some type of protocol, you know, that the government puts out for you, you know, there's no thought process, you know, with all that. I enjoyed it. I liked the structure. I liked the systems. I liked everything with that. Then I got, what'd you say?
Oh, I was saying like the discipline.
Yeah. I liked all that. The camaraderie, that was amazing, you know, you know, cause you get like blood brothers, cause but I ended up going to Somalia, when Black Hawk Down and all that stuff was going on.
What? No way.
That was super crazy. And there it was horrific. And I'll tie this in. It was horrific. I saw a lot of violence, a lot of death. I saw a lot of, you know, like poverty at extreme. I saw, you know, like adults killing little kids or chopping their arms off, you know, for fun, and, you know, like orphans that were having to do horrific things with people. I mean, it was just amazing to see, humanity at its survival point. You know what I mean? So there was nothing, you know, they're still struggling and having issues, and, saw that. And then from there, I went to Bosnia and fought there. And then after there, Haiti broke out. They had a big revolution and stuff like that. So I went to Haiti. So I was in, Somalia, Bosnia, and Haiti, all in that time frame. So I was gone a lot. I did a lot of missions and stuff like that. Saw a lot of death, mayhem, just the dark side of things. So when I got out, it was really interesting. My parents were religious, my mom and dad. My dad's since passed away, but he was a pastor, a Baptist pastor. And so, like old school, how, hymns and, you got a pastor up there like, bless God, we need to. So, I had experienced all this darkness and all this evil at such a young age, because you're so young and you're thrown into battle and all that. So my parents invited me to this church. It's like a missions conference, like where there's missionaries and stuff like that. Didn't want to go. So finally, and this is really interesting, I think, because people don't understand, and you could talk a little bit about this, but you can have spiritual awakenings in certain situations that may not be ideal. Obviously being in a Baptist church is not an ideal situation. There's a lot of legalism and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But it made me pause to understand and to think that there's an alternative to the darkness. You know what I mean? And then there's a reason that there's darkness so that you can see the light. I know we listened to that Paul Check, because I think I commented about on something that you had put on there, and you had talked about it. But you have to have the darkness to have the light, and the light to have the darkness. But went to this. This is crazy. This is why I believe we're always evolving. There was a missionary there from Africa, a lady, and she had this was old school back in the day. I'm 46, so I'm old, but so they had slide projectors, with little slides, and they would slide it and go, and then it was almost like a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And so she's showing pictures of these little mud huts that I had shot up, and same area, and here she's doing humanitarian work and sharing, love, sharing, their doctrine and all that stuff, and helping, and I'm I literally cause mayhem, construction, death, all in these same areas, and there's people that are actually going in there, and helping. And I said, from here on out, I'm dedicating my life to helping others. So I went to seminary school, and then studied to be a pastor. Yeah. And, went through that, all the structures and stuff like that. Got to the point to where, I built a large church. We did $1 million building, all that stuff in Washington State, because after seminary, I became a church planner. They had different things that you can do. So I built this big church, went really well. I'm entrepreneurial like you. So, anything we do, it's going to be. So did that, built it really big. And as I was building it, and I always want to tell people this, be careful of your ego. It can hide in so many different formats. So here I am, this young guy, church planner. It's going really well. They start asking me to speak in conferences and all this stuff, these Baptist conferences. And I start getting this monster ego, bro.
I'm all that in a bag of chips. Let's go.
Yeah, no one, but I had to, but with a lot of religion, I had a fake sense of humility. Jesus talks about that over and over again with the Pharisees.
Like a facade.
Yeah, and it's really cool. In the Bible, he talks about it, but they built walkways so that they could not walk with common people, and then they would, because they felt like they would be unclean and they would get their robes dirty or hanging out, and then Jesus, there he is with the worst of the worst and all the people, just a great example for us, I love Jesus, don't like all the religion tied to him,
I know, I love the story and all the little principles behind everything, but there's just certain things,
Yeah, we've took, if we're focused on Jesus, focus on Jesus. I love his teachings. Great man. Did a lot of great for the world. He's probably one of the most influential people out there. But at the end of the day, I've got this huge ego, and I was working 6-7 days a week, going to these conferences across the United States, speaking about church planning. And, with a lot of churches, I say it's all about body building and bucks. How many people can you put in a pew? How big is your building? How much money are you bringing in the offering? That's what everything, all these concepts, what people always focused on.
Wow.
I'm so finally I began to, here's another spiritual awakening. First one was in the Marine Corps. This one I had to go through all this. Finally I began to say, this is wrong. But it took this. It took me to have a huge fall. And that huge fall was I worked so much that I wasn't paying attention to my wife for 20 years. I was married for 20 years. I was not paying attention to her.
Wow.
And she ended up meeting somebody else. They're still together, doing wonderful, great. And, you know, I have 4 children. And so I lost my family. And then in losing my family, I lost the church. In losing the church, everybody that was pumping me up through the whole denomination, you know, our association, all that, no one called me. I had one person call me. Out of all these thousands of people that I had met and thousands of pastors and everything else, in my worst time when I was hurting the worst, no one was there for me. So then I ended up like leaving the house because she's with this guy coming home at like 4:00 in the morning. I mean, she's just trying to see, you know, because I mean, she had dealt with my ego for so long, you know.
Yeah.
She wanted something different, you know. And so I don't fault for anything. We have a great relationship now and all that, but and super happy for her. But at the end of the day, when you get such a big ego like that, you're gonna, you know, pride comes before a fall.
Literally. Oh, that's a good saying too. I don't think I've ever heard that one.
Yeah, oh, you haven't? Yeah, it's an old saying. But so it crashed, bro, like everything. So now I'm homeless. All I have is I just lost my children, my family, everything. All I have is I lost the church. I lost everything. I have like nothing.
Jeez.
That's so beautiful, though. In that moment, there's such beauty because here's what happened. When I lost it all, I'm driving around in my car, and I had a '04. This was back in the day. I had a '04 Chevy Cavalier. I don't know if you know those little base model like.
Oh, man. I had '04. Once upon a time, too, I had like a '04, I think. Oh, no, it was a '94 Altima, dude. So, yeah, I feel like I've never really had a new car, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so, no, it wasn't new. It was, so it was a few years old, but it was like so I took this car and I didn't know what to do. And I was at like from a scale of 1 to 10, I was on a -10. You know, I lost everything and I didn't know, and my ego was bruised and everything else. So I took this car and I tried to ram it in a big river to kill myself.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so luckily I hit a rock, water was coming in and everything else. And so I literally woke up in the middle of the night on the sand bank. I don't know how that happened or what happened in that whole process. It was, you know, God, the universe, whatever. But I woke up on the sand. You know, of course I was freezing cold because they have glacier fed. Like you can die in 9 minutes in a river in Washington State because the water's so cold.
Oh, geez.
So, yeah, so I woke up on the sand on the beachy part, and my trunk was still not wet in the car. Ended up, some guys showed up. They helped me tow the car. In the back of my trunk was some suits that I had from when I was a pastor. That's all I had was clothes. I had no money, no nothing. Living in my car. So I lived in my car, had some clothes in there. I went into a Nissan dealership in Olympia, Washington, put my suit on, and got hired as a car salesman. And literally pulled myself out of everything. I worked 6-7 days a week, 15 hours a day, learned how to sell cars. I lived off the donuts in their service drive. They had donuts because I had no food and no money, you know, in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then people would give me like half their sandwiches or whatever. And I had no place to go because I was so depressed. But I just made like the dealership my family, and I just stayed there. They would open up at 7 and they would close at 9 at night. And I would stay there 7 days a week from 7 to 9. Because if I was walking around and talking to people, I wouldn't be depressed, you know.
Yeah.
It's so important that people go hide in their little caves when they're having mental issues, when actually being in service to others is the best thing that you can do when you're feeling down or depressed. It will change you dramatically, you know. So I just poured my heart into being, and I wanted to transform the way that people purchase vehicles. Like I wanted to actually be honest and transparent and have people have amazing experiences and, you know, not try to hide things and show that, you know.
Like with integrity, like sell with integrity.
Yes, exactly. And I did that, and it just launched and launched and launched, and I just did really well. And I remember there was a November right before Christmas. I had a friends that finally let me live in their house, which was amazing. And you know, so I pulled myself out, got an apartment and all that. But in this one November, after all this was done and I was depressed, and I got so depressed I didn't even want to see my kids, which was horrific because it just would remind me of what I had. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. It's almost like you're ashamed of like where you are now, so you're just like, I don't want them to see me like this. Like I don't, and it's not gonna be how it was. And
Right.
start like, and I always say like reflecting back to the past always diminishes your ability to be present and make the best decision possible for yourself. So like you're going to just be judging yourself for of some sort, and it's going to manifest into like, no, well, I don't want to see my kids. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Like, so I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it was horrific. And I liked it for me, and I don't know how this is for some people, but for me, when I was that depressed, where I was suicidal, where I didn't want to see my kids, I was being ultimately selfish. My kids wanted to see me. I'm their dad. And, and I was putting my emotion and my feelings first. And I feel a lot of people, when they're extremely depressed, they're extremely selfish at the same time. Because really suicide is the ultimate expression of selfishness.
Yeah.
Because there's people that love you all around you that love you. And you just took yourself away from them.
It's like that story. Like, yeah, it's like that story you're telling yourself. No, you're telling yourself the story. Like, nobody else is seeing what you're saying. And if you're not expressing what you're saying, then how the hell are they supposed to know what your story is? Like, it's like, it doesn't even make sense, really. You've got to get yourself out of your own head and express how you feel and be like, you know what? I'm depressed. Like, I'm depressed. And if you are, well, then you're going to get more receptive attention. That's not going to seem like you're just asking for attention selfishly. And you can actually get some help. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Or, like me, I had to sit there and tell myself, it's like, you're a fucking idiot, Jason. Do something good today. Do one thing good, even if it's very, very small. Just do one thing. Like, get your suit out, go into a bathroom at McDonald's and put it on and go apply for a job. Yeah, you can't shower because you're living in your car, but you can take towels, wipe underneath your arms, and put the suit on. And yeah, it's a little wrinkled. It's fine. Put the jacket up a little bit. And go apply at a job, and that's what I did. And it was just like, it's like when you're trying to pull yourself up on a rope and how much strength it takes and your arms are tired,
Yeah.
But if you can just keep going and get that little bit, even if it's just a little bit of hand grip, you can pull yourself out of any situation, and I think a lot of times when you feel selfish and you feel defeated, like you said, we just want to like go hide. And I have to be real careful of that. Even now, dealing with people all the time, sometimes I need to recharge and go. But if I'm laying in my house watching Netflix all day long in the dark, feeling sorry for myself, what good am I doing to humanity?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And how am I helping somebody? I could be, out running, making a post, doing lots of different things because my life is not here for me, my pleasure. My life is here to serve others.
Yeah, and what's funny about that is if you're that depressed, look at the connection that you have with other people, because it'll directly reflect like the way that you're feeling. If you have healthy connections with a lot of people, there's no way that you're just going to be absolutely depressed. You might feel lost, kind of like, or you might feel kind of like not seen, but that's just your ego again playing an illusion, because I mean, you're just not expressing your feelings, obviously, because you're putting the story in your head again. Like, it's trying to trick you. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's crazy to me. And it's hard to come out of that sometimes. It's hard to be open. It's hard to express yourself. And that's why I do what I do, is just because it's like, you've got to be comfortable with at least expressing who you are. If you're not, you're going to be in this cocoon of what you want other people to see you as, and that's going to break. It's fragile. It's, you know what I mean? And you got to create something sturdy within you that's going to kind of branch out.
Even if it's something small, that's why I tell people, give yourself some hope. Even if it's something small, even if it's like, I'm not going to eat the cheeseburger today and I'm going to go for a 1 mile walk.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that twice a week. That's you're moving in that direction. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's the same thing, like I got the job. I just shoved myself into the work because I knew if I was by myself in hiding that I would get depressed. And guess what happened? I just crawled myself out of the situation, did really well, got promoted, kept just moving along. And then finally, I was in Washington State, been single for a long time, had a few relationships here and there, still single. And that's a whole podcast, to talk about. But, but at the end of the day, for me to have success meant that I had to be honest with myself and understand who I really was. Not, and that sounds cliche, but like being honest, like brutally honest with myself. Like, why am I getting pissed off when this person's talking to me? Why am I not paying attention to them? You know, why do I feel shitty right now when this person's opening up to me and sharing something that I should be sharing back to them? You know, I'm talking like that honest. Like, you know, why am I sitting next to a girl that I tell her I love her and then I'm Snapchatting some other girl? You know, I'm talking being honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because this society today, we fool ourselves in thinking that we're not honest. And you cannot be truly successful in life. And I'm not talking about money. I'm just talking about success. You cannot be truly successful in life unless you can be honest with what's up here. And be okay with what's up here. It's all fucked up here.
And that's beautiful. That's the beautiful thing. You're like, that's what people don't see. They just like, they judge themselves because they're like, oh, like, I don't have anything figured out. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, nobody does. Like, nobody does. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's like the confidence that you have going into that will change the entirety of the way that you're feeling. Like, right. And with confidence comes keeping promises to yourselves. You're not going to be confident unless you can keep promises to yourselves. And that level of consistency, like you're saying, small adjustments are big impact. So like, I was actually talking about that and I was like, just start with, you know, 5 minutes of a workout today. Go with 10 tomorrow and maybe 15 on the next day. And then just be consistent with doing 3 of those every week and just see what it does. Like just experiment. And so many people just get caught in this like paralysis of indecision and like they don't know what they want. So then they don't know what to do. So then they don't decide on anything and they're just copacetic with what the hell they're doing and who they are. And it's like, you're not even testing the waters a little bit. And,
and be comfortable with saying no.
Yeah,
there was a book I just read, and the guy was talking about it, and it said, I don't remember the title, but he said, if you can't say fuck yes, then say no. And I love that because it really like clarifies everything.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like, just say no. Free your time up for things that you're passionate about. You could say, fuck yes, I want to do this, you know.
And then you can fulfill. And then that's part of like filling yourself up enough for you to be able to put that of service so you can overflow and have that kind of pour out. Like, and that's why like, and I was talking to one of my friends last night on an interview and he was actually saying, that, you know, he was saying that like, you have to do the exact same thing. Like you've got to be able to see in hindsight and you've got to be able to like take care of yourself first. Otherwise, you know, you're just going to be trying to give from an empty tank. And if you're just doing that, you're going to burn out real fast. And like even, I always love to use cars too because it's like when you don't get an oil change, when you're just burning oil, it's all bone dry in there. Like what happens? It overheats. You know what I mean? It breaks down. Like your shit starts to go out. Like there's just so many other complications. And then how much is the maintenance after? A shit ton. You know what I mean? And it's like just take care of your shit and take care of yourself. Learn to say no. Learn to be passionate. Figure out what you want. You know what I mean? And it's like isolate what those things are. If something makes you feel like, fuck yeah, like take note of that mentally and just be like, okay, maybe I need to like kind of do that a little more and not maybe so much of this. Cause I think people just get so caught up in like that routine aspect of shit. Yes. And it's hard to break that habit loop. It's like, it's almost like retraining a dog. You know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, and I think having boundaries is so important. We talked about this before, but if you can say fuck yes, that's fine. But at the end of the day, you don't have an obligation. You know, if you feel like you have to go to your aunt's house all the time on Saturdays and you go there and she's negative all the time and she's just talking bad about everybody in the family, why the hell do you keep going there every Saturday? You don't owe her anything.
Dude, that honestly reminds me of that actually used to happen with my wife and I, with my mother-in-law, dude. Oh my gosh. So like we would go over there and it would just be negative, dude. And I don't mean like negative, like they would be negative towards me. I mean negative towards like her. Like they would bash her. They would like kind of just disrespect her in front of me. And I'm just kind of like, I don't like that. Like that might be how you guys did it, but I don't like that. And so like, I would always just say like, babe, why do we have to go? Like, why do we have to go? And so now we never go. Like,
yes.
we never do anything.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fun. Like, we're busy as hell anyways, just living our lives. And honestly, it's crazy how, like, the more focused you become on yourself and what you want. Because we started, ever since we came back from Florida, and I'm sure you can attest to the whole traveling thing, like opening your eyes and perspectives and stuff. It's like, once we came back from Florida, because we don't travel ever, we were just like, dude, like, there's so much more we could be doing. Like that, like, and not just like with like money or anything, but I just mean with ourselves. Like, we're lazy. Like, we could actually be busy 24 hours of the day. Like, we could actually be doing some positive things. We could be working on ourselves. We could do this and that and this and that. And then what are you doing? You're not even worried about money. So you're not wasting money. You're constantly like creating better habit loops and like triggers. So that way, like, the next time you feel down or depressed or something, you're like, oh, well, I'm going to just, put something out, or I'm going to talk to this person, or you know what I mean? Like, or I'm going to go work out. I'm going to do that 5-minute ab routine that I thought I felt pretty good at afterwards. Like, and you got to just keep putting yourself out there.
You can, like last night I worked for 12 hours straight yesterday, and I did not feel like going to the gym at all. And I went and I had an amazing time. And I'm like, how did I do this? How did I work for 12 hours straight, turn around and go to the gym, and then I had enough energy for that? And then I got back home, got on the phone with someone and was talking with them and had an amazing conversation, and went to bed at 11 and, got up this morning and felt great. And now if I would have got home, felt bad, if I would have worked 12 hours, see, I had two choices to make. Okay, I worked 12 hours. Oh my God, I'm so tired. There's the drive-through McDonald's.
Yep.
Okay, let me eat this. Okay, I'll take it home. I'm so tired. Let me watch this TV show till I pass out after I ate all this garbage food. And I'm just sitting there, and then, I'd have been so tired. And then I would have woke up this morning tired. And sometimes I fail and I do the bad and not the good. But at the end of the day, we have way more energy. We have unlimited energy. We can tap into the universe at any time that we want.
As long as you're eating and drinking some water, you're good to go.
Yes.
Take some naps
around us.
Yeah, it's like,
you saw that. I mean, you were able 100 years ago. There's no way in hell you would have made it to Florida. There were people that only lived in. When we talked about Jesus, they said he only lived in like a little 30-mile radius. So look what we can do nowadays. I mean, look what we're doing right now.
Yeah, I was just doing that.
We have computers.
Yes.
NASA computers. This is 1960 NASA computers that brought us to the moon. We have them sitting in our hands. Why are we not
broadcasting network that you got right in your pocket?
Yes, it's like, and we don't take advantage of it. It's like, that's why I said the other day with my podcast, I was like, why am I only doing it once a week? Who put that limit out there? You know what I mean?
Like, what are the rules stating that it's once a week? This is weird.
So, I bought a mic for my computer, and I did a marketing, because I love marketing, and I did a marketing podcast, and I want to help businesses in Albuquerque, so I'm going to do more. Uh-oh. Are we dying?
No, my light was just, the sun usually hits the window and it started to go down into the clouds. It just got darker, so I was
you had like a little halo. You were looking like the Apostle Paul or something, yeah.
Do my best.
No, who was that? Was that, who did that? That was Kanye, right? Where he was making fun on his album cover or something like that?
I think, no. I think it might have been J. Cole. Recently?
No, this was like 2 years ago. Yeah, he was like on a throne.
That was J. Cole. Was
that who it was? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. But dude, I'm telling you, we have that's so awesome. So when you went to Florida, what are some of the takeaways that you got?
Oh, dude, it opened my eyes. It opened my eyes insanely. Like, not just to the weather, but just to the ways that people live on a day-to-day basis. And because Florida's it's pretty big, in terms of really long and stuff. So it was weird. And you know how it is here as opposed to every other state. There's just always these interstates everywhere else. Mm-hmm. And you're always constantly on an interstate somehow. So it was weird to see and come back to the traffic. Traffic's maybe one thing that we need to work on too a little bit. But the other, it was mostly just the ways people lived though, because we went to North Miami after the wedding. And it was just really fast paced. There was just people walking around all the time. there's people always like out, and then it took like maybe 30 minutes to go like 0.7 miles. It was like ridiculous. I was like, what is going on right now? And then like, I don't know. It's just, there was a part that kind of reminded me of downtown Albuquerque, because I'm pretty sure every state or every city has like their own downtown Albuquerque.
Right.
And so there was like parts where it's kind of the same, but for the most part, like it was that and the weather, because the weather was just so different. It was just so different. Like it was kind of the same, but it was like way more humid, and it just changed way more drastically, way more quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, this is weird. Like this is, and the only difference that I could really take away with the rain is you could actually at least stand in the rain, when it drizzles in Florida. Here it's kind of like pecks you, even if it drizzles, if it drizzles. So I feel like I don't know, maybe it's the altitude, or like the rain, like the droplets are just hitting right away or something. But, yeah, that was a kind of just, it expanded my mind to what we're capable of, because we're out there for 2 weeks. Like we sustained ourselves for 2 weeks, and we were able to come back safely. It's like, well, what else can we do? Like just because we live here and we can experience everything here, and we can still travel, we can find and because it's the cost of living is so decent, it's like we can find a place here that's accommodating, that we don't necessarily need to be, but we don't need to be here all the time. Like we can travel twice a year, we can figure it out, and then we can just like have this be our main spot, you know. But it just like, it really did just like open our eyes as a couple to really like see other people doing other things, because we had never been out of the state other than Vegas for a couple days before. And Vegas, I mean, it's you know, Vegas, dude, like it's not really culture. There's just much cultures of different people everywhere. Like it's one culture, and that's the party culture, but it's like, there's different people doing it, you know. It's not really like different, like things. It's just hotels and lights and spectacle stuff. So it's like, it was different to see just trees and oceans and all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah. I'm originally from Florida, so that's what's interesting.
Oh, dang. What part?
So my mom was born in Jacksonville, Florida, and then when I grew up, so I was 13, we moved to Washington State, but so I was 13 years old, I grew up in Brooksville near Tampa, Florida.
Oh, okay.
So it's a big town now. Brooksville's a big town, but it was like a really small rural town in Hernando County. So up until I was 13 years old, my dad pastored a Baptist church there. So I'm originally born in Florida, originally from there. So it's a really
that's crazy.
So it's kind of like every time I go back there, it's kind of like a whole home thing. But it's so unique and so different from any other state. You know,
yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't really know as far as other states, but it really is like so different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what I enjoy about Florida is it's so diverse. Like you can go to Miami, and that's a whole different ball game. You can go to Orlando, and that's something totally different. You go to Tampa, and you go to the Cuban section, you know, in Ybor City and all that area, and it's so different. Then you get into northern Florida, like Pensacola, with the white sand beaches, and you know, you got a huge Navy base there. It's just, you know, and then you go over to Jacksonville, and you're starting to get in like swampy areas, and you know, it's just, and then you go to the beaches on both sides, you know.
Yeah.
The wildlife, you know, there's so many bugs and humidity and
the birds. There's birds everywhere. There's big birds, little birds. There's these. I'm like, how many birds are flying?
Yeah,
there's storks everywhere.
Alligator food, yeah.
I'm like, damn, there's storks walking around, right? Like,
Did you see any alligators?
No, well, we saw, her dad lives out there, and he saw one in one of like the lakes, like in his backyard.
Right.
And he showed us a picture, but we didn't see one like live. We fed some babies at like some mini golf park.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but other than that, we didn't like see a live one. I wanted to so bad, dude. I was like, just open everything out. I was like, I just want to see.
Yeah, they're everywhere. You just have to go out in the country a little bit. But then you got that, you know, too. It's like, there's like this real like original people from Florida, like really country, you know, like country music, big pickup trucks, you know, it's like the South still too.
Yeah.
So it's just an eclectic mixture of all kinds of stuff. So, you know, really, really cool. Fun to rent a car and just drive all around Florida. Key West is crazy. You know,
I know. Well, We were trying to go to Key West, man, but then we realized that it was like 5 hours from where we were.
Yeah, you're basically in the Caribbean when you go to Key West.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I was hearing about, someone was telling me about it, and they were like, yeah, you gotta like literally drive through the whole thing, and it's like, it's just nothing but like just a bridge and water, basically.
Right. Yep.
Land around it. Like, it's just like, what?
Yeah, it's just long bridges all the way there. Yeah, it's crazy, but it's a beautiful thing. But I'm glad I moved out of there. I experienced something else. Washington State's totally different, and then but what got me to Albuquerque is I met because I know I'll segue back into this, but I met a girl on Facebook that I had went to high school with, and she was here. And so I came down here to Albuquerque in November, and we had experienced 63 days of rain straight in Seattle. So so I came down here in November, and she took me to St. Clair Winery. I think it's called something else now, but over near Old Town, and it was like 70-some degrees, and sunny. And I had all this rain, and I was just like, this is like the most perfect place. This weather is like, there's sun every day, sun every day. Because in Seattle, you get totally opposite. It's 300 days of rain and clouds and cold,
That's
so,
crazy.
a lot of people from here love it. I know that. If you haven't gone, you can go to Alaska Airlines and get, it's 3.5-hour flight from here, and you can get tickets down to like low as $200 round trip. So it's, if you're from Albuquerque and you haven't gone to Seattle, you should. It's 180 degrees opposite, big mountains, very beautiful, lots of water. Very green. But at the end of the day, I came here and then I just felt something with the city. I was just like, this is where I'm supposed to be. I need to make a change. So I made a change, came here, started a digital marketing company that went really, really well. I kind of mainly specialize in, because I'm in the automotive industry, so I specialize, with automotive clients. I have a lot of diverse, different types of clients, kind of boutique digital marketing. So I'm real picky with who I take, 90% of people I tell no. Just because, it has, and I don't know, you can attest to this, but I like whenever I give value to somebody, and then I almost use value. I was talking about this the other day. I almost use value as like a test, a litmus test to see, I'm giving it unconditionally, but I like to see how a person reacts giving back to you.
Yeah.
So, like if I give a ton of value to you as a client and then you just keep taking, at some point, I have to say, this isn't a relationship that's functional. It's dysfunctional. So, what I like to do is provide a ton of value, bring, as much as I can out there. And then from there, you almost like dish it onto their court and then let that decision decide, and then if a client responds and they're bringing me value back, then we have a relationship. Because in business, people don't view it, but it's, a lot of times you see people that you work with more than you even see your own spouse.
Yes.
So it's a relationship there, and I think it's so important. And I know you talk about giving value all the time, and I don't want to like talk the whole time, but maybe you could share real quickly because hopefully I can get this audio from you too, and we'll post it. But
definitely.
Because I know you've gotten into this extensively. It's in your book, and we're going to talk about your book because I got some things I want to do. I got a whole box of them, bro.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
I
appreciate that.
I want you back on my podcast, and then from there, I wanted to announce some things and do some social media giveaways and stuff like that because I want to get your message out, bro. I think it would be important. The world needs to hear it. But tell me, like in action steps, like certain things, like how can you create value if somebody's feeling that resonating inside of themselves? When you interact with somebody, how can you create value? Or how do you do it?
Okay, so the way that I create value, like interacting with somebody else?
Yeah, because you talk about, and you always do that. You always like, whenever we have a conversation, you're always giving me, giving me things and helping me.
Oh, like just those little tidbits or little things here and there.
Right.
Well, it's mostly, honestly, man, it mostly just stems from what I always talk about, which is self-awareness. Because what I've realized is like when you fully know what you are about, then you can be empathetic to everyone. Like you can create some sort of like and then there's things that spark the things that you learn about in different areas and stuff. And that's why it's so important to know who you are, because if I didn't even know who I was, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? And so it's like, when you know who you are, you're going to get in front of the people that you need to, because the value nuggets are going to come from that. Like, they're going to come from the passion. Like, they're going to come from the things that you learn. They're going to come from the fuck yeahs. Like, and you won't experience that if you don't know who you are first, because you're not going to experiment, like we were talking kind of about earlier. And so, like, there will be no value, because, like, the people that you're in front of won't take it as value. They'll take it as, like, face value, and whatever you just told them, they're going to just one ear and out the other. But if people that, like are like-minded, that you can actually be open with and be honest with and talk about, like, that's how all the, like, the stuff kind of comes out. And it doesn't seem forced. It's more, like, natural, because it's just you in your element at that point. And when you're in your element, it's not even like you're giving value at that point. You're just being yourself, and people take it as value because of, like, how authentic it is, and how real it's and from how it's coming from such a real thing and such a raw place.
So it's at the point, it's not where you're having to you become so self-aware that you're not even having to tell yourself, how do I get value? How do I get value? You've gotten to the point where it's just the ability to be a part of who you are.
Exactly. Like, it's almost like, okay, so it's almost like if you ask a singer to sing a song, they should be able to bust out a nice tune for you to sing. Like, it should come out. Like, it should just be able to, and that's what people don't understand. I think is, like, they force the value so much. Like, oh, this person needs to hear this in this way, and here's the algorithm, so this is the way that it works. And it's like you can play with algorithms and ads and, like, all that stuff all you want, but at the end of the day, like, if you're trying to get people to, like, see stuff, or you're trying, like, people see that, like, like, they see the force behind everything. And like, that's why because I've had some people tell me, like, oh, well, it's kind of crazy, I don't know, you have, like, only, like, 300 followers or whatever. And it's like, well, I don't really see that. I see, like, the fact that, like, I've only been doing this a year. I'm still 27 years old. I got another 9 years left. That's what's up. Like, cool. Like, I get to just be myself for another 9 years and grow another, cause I've built relationships with you and, like, so many other people.
Right.
Just, like, based off of that. And it's like, not only do, like, I give you guys value and you guys give me value, but, like, I get value from everyone. And it's like, it's just this endless thing of, like, what I think is value to me, because I know who I am. I know what I believe. I stand true to it. And it's like, I can use that and, like, take the perspective aspect of everything and just be empathetic to it, and just be like, you know what, like if somebody, and then I can put myself in those situations, because I know myself. Like, if I'm like, okay, I need to put something out that's going to make somebody, you know, kind of hit them in a sad place and kind of, like, make them feel what I'm feeling, like, it's a lot easier to put yourself in that situation. It's like, okay, well, I was pretty sad in that moment. Like, so I need to understand kind of what I need to get across, or, like, what I need to say, or whatever. Cause there's been times too, I mean, I mess up. Like, there's times where I get in these moments where I'm really angry and I want to say something or text something, because I'm, like, really but then, you know, and that's why I love my wife so much, is because she catches that and she's like, babe, just let it go. You got to play the game. Like, this is the game. And I'm just like, I know, it's just so frustrating. It's just so frustrating. It's like, I gotta, like, you know, and so, like, nobody's perfect, but when you, like, stand firm to your beliefs, you're not falling for anything at that point. So you're just like, I know what I know is value. So if you don't take it as value, I mean, there doesn't need to really be a relationship there, because obviously we're not helping each other. It's friction. Like, there's no benefit. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, the people and that's why they say, like, when you put yourself out, like, the people that are like-minded will come to you, in that sense, you know. And it's not, I think people get impatient because they think that, like, shit's always just going to happen right away, and, like, they're going to see results right away. And it's like, no, it's like working out. Like, you got to do it little by little. You'll start to see yourself, like, 4 weeks from now in the mirror, and you'll be like, oh shit, like, I'll keep doing it then. Okay, cool. Like, it's just that type of thing. And the only reason why I keep, like, even doing what I do is because of, like how you are wanting to promote the book and help me out, and, like, the things that you've said and the things that, like, people have just told me. Like, I'd rather have these individual moments as opposed to followers. Like, I don't give a shit about followers. Like, I just care about these relationships, because who knows? We might spark an idea up, create a startup for something, who knows what that could turn into? I might know somebody that you need for a certain expertise. I can tell you who they are. You guys can connect. It's just, it helps everyone. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, and that's my real goal, is to just be like, the more people I know, the more people I can help other people, and the more people, the more connections, and the more this and the more that. And it's like, it's never for personal gain. It's just so that way. And that's why I created the podcast, is so that way other people can get their kind of like platform to be like, this is me. So in case anybody wants to listen to my podcast, they'll get some experts and they can be like, oh, you can hit them up at any time. Like, it's just exposure and knowing yourself, and that'll turn into value eventually. You know what I mean? Like, and the right people who take that as value and want to give back and say nice things and go back and forth with you on, like, those are the people like who take it. You know what I mean? And it's because certain people don't even pay attention to what I say, like, at all. Like, even some of my family, like, they kind of take what I say like with a grain of salt. Like, they don't really like buy into it yet. And it's like, I get some people like you saying like, well, your message needs to get out there. And it's like, it's kind of a weird like tandem. So it's just like, which side's right? Well, maybe the part that like I feel the most me in. Right. You know, so it's just, there's an old statement. It's like, and I don't know how to say it right, but it's like something like, you're never a prophet in your hometown, you know? Yeah. You know, so because, you know, people grew up with you, knew you and all that, you know, I mean, it would be interesting, getting back to Jesus, it would be interesting to see what his family would have said about him, you know, I mean, obviously, and stuff like that, but, no, and I love what you said, you know, something that resonated with me that I just worked on, you know, and it's something that you talk about a lot, is forgiveness. And a way to create value is, like you said, you know, you're talking about your wife and getting angry and all that stuff. And I was at the dentist the other day. My day off, was at the dentist, got really angry at the dentist. It was early morning, was having issues with the tooth and all kinds of stuff. Then this customer called, had an issue. The lady at work, one of the secretaries at work, calls. I asked her to do this for me, and she kind of like made a little joke on an email. She made a joke. She's probably in a good mood. I took it the wrong way because I was pissed already. And I emailed her back and said, just do your job. And I was angry when I said that. And so, you know, a lot of stuff. And then she was like, so then I like felt bad, you know, of course, all that. But I came in the next day and I looked at her and I was like, I need to apologize. You know, I unfairly sent you something that I should not have sent you, and it had nothing to do with you. Had everything to do with me being at the dentist, and I explained it to her, and she's like, oh, thank you. You know, like, she was like really taken back. And I feel like, for me, you know, especially with men getting angry, like, forgiveness is so important for creating value in a relationship. Yeah. It definitely is. I mean, that's the whole reason why I even got married. You know, I wasn't the perfect dude. Like, I was constantly, you know, infidelity, you know, that whole thing, lying, all that stuff, like, all of it, dude. Like, all of it. It wasn't to the extent of you, but I almost did lose my family. You know what I mean? And it took me having that humility to say, look, like, I'm not perfect, but I'm going to work on myself nonstop from here on out. And it took her a while, and I wasn't even on social media at all, or my phone for that matter, for like 6 months. Like, I was nowhere. I was off the grid, and like, I had to do just self-reflecting after that. So that whole 6 months was just diving deeper and deeper and deeper and getting more curious. And how many guys will not? How many guys that are being that way? Because I'm helping somebody, and you know, we're helping somebody right now. How many guys are, when you're in that mode where you're being dishonest, deceitful, cheating, all that? You're not really, when you like, oh, sorry, babe, haha, you caught me. That's not true forgiveness. When you truly ask for forgiveness, it changes your actions after that. You know? Yeah. And I think people like they think it's cut and dry, and it's like, there's a lot of gray area. You know what I mean? Like, cause obviously there's certain things that are hard to forgive, but it's like when that happens, cause when she did finally start to forgive me more and more and more, she started to realize like how much easier like our relationship was going, how much better it was getting. And because I was doing my part,
Right.
Like it was all kind of like meshing and kind of like coming back to normal. And then now it's like we're each other's absolute best friend. It's like insane.
Right.
Like there's nothing we don't tell each other. And it's like we laugh over the funny, like the stupidest things and like just all that whole thing. And it's like I can be myself around her now. Whereas before I didn't even know who I was. So how could I be myself around her?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like because I've worked on myself, and like when you can forgive, because I had to forgive myself too. Like, it's like when you can forgive, you stop judging. You know what I mean? Like if you're forgiving somebody, like, you're not wasting time judging them, which is ultimately you judging yourself because you're disappointed that you let them do that to you. Right. You know, it's always a mirror of judgment. It's always a mirror of judgment. We could flip the mirror and look at yourself and be fine and just throw the mirror aside and then which is the judgment, and fucking throw that out. Then you'll feel a lot better. You'll feel a lot like less strained holding a goddamn mirror in front of your face for so long. Like anybody's arm will get tired doing that forever. Like throw that shit because your arm's going to fucking give out anyways. Like just stop wasting your energy.
It's so funny. I was reading a story the other day, and this ties right into it perfectly. This guy had been married for 60 years. And they were asking, you know, like, what was success? And they had a great marriage and stuff. And he said something so profound. I'm still thinking about it. This has been a week. And I think about it every day. He said this. He goes, in 60 years of marriage, my wife changed probably 8 or 9 times into 8 or 9 different women, you know. And he's like, like he's like, she would change, you know, from being 18 when we married to 25 is a different woman, and then 30 is a different woman, and then 35 is a different woman, and 40 is a different woman. He goes, all through these processes, she changed. He goes, I needed to learn to love enough that I gave her the freedom to allow her to be who she should be, regardless of me. And then I just loved her consistently through each of the changes. Because for me, her happiness and her evolving to who she needed to be was most important to me, rather than us being in a so-called relationship. And, you know, I thought about that, and I just experienced that. I had a girlfriend for almost 2 years, and then, you know, we broke up. And same time, Aubrey Marcus, we were talking about that, you know, her and I, but we're in a really good relationship now, and even better. And I told her that the other day, and I mentioned the story, and I was like, you know, I'm learning love with you. And she goes, what do you mean? I was like, I'm learning to not, you know, I know you went out with your friends and you went to a club and another guy's dancing with you and he's rubbing himself all over you. And I'm like, you were my girl. You know what I mean? Now you're doing that with somebody else. And it's like, you know, but we broke up and I wanted to break up with you, you know, but then there's like this possessive thing and I had to work through all that. And I'm like, and she goes, but you've never judged me. And I'm like, really? She goes, yeah, I've never felt judgment from you. And I'm like, okay, then that's what that relationship was about. I needed for that 2 years to learn. And her making that statement to me was so beautiful because she goes, how do you think, even through all the whole process of breaking up, she goes, how do you think I'm still friends? And she goes, I know you still love me, but you give me the freedom to be who I should be. And I'm like, you know, it's when people tell you things like that is when you finally realize, like, you know, I'm evolving, I'm learning all the stuff that I've like suffered through and read all these tons of books and did all this stuff. I just impacted somebody for the rest of their life, you know. Much value with that person that we could even be done in a relationship, you know what I mean? And get to the point to where we're at this level of sharing love with each other, even through a breakup, you know, which is like, I don't think I would ever, you know, because there's anger and emotions and all that, you know, but the forgiveness was organic. It was easy. And it's so weird, you know, and like you said earlier, like to tie it all back in, is because I have an appointment here pretty soon, but to tie it all back in, you know, at the end of the day, it's how are we changing and what are we doing to impact the world? And I always want, when I'm with you, I always like for you to go through your little process that you do daily. And I know, because I'm going to put this on my podcast, so I want you to be able to, I want everybody to know that. And I know you say it all the time and you post it all the time, but I think we need to hear it again. Can you go through that process?
Yeah. Okay. So It's gratitude for today, momentum for tomorrow, energy for the world, empathy for others, and awareness for ourselves, which again goes back to that self-awareness. And to go with that, gratitude for today implies that you have, a growth mindset. You understand mindset. You understand perspective, and you are also accountable for your actions. And you have accountability, and you understand accountability, and you know how to it's more so about just creating those habits for yourself. Think about that stuff. You know what I mean? And then for momentum for tomorrow, it's discipline, because we have to have that self-discipline. It always stems from a level of self-love. And you also have to have clarity. So whenever you have clarity, it allows you to focus more on what is important, on what does matter, on what you need to focus on, not wasting time on. And then there's your plan of attack. So once you have that clarity, once you have that discipline, then you can start making your workout routine, because you know your goals, you know what you want, you know what you need. So you can start forming your plan of attack. It's got to be meticulous. Then there's energy for the world, and that is just your vibration. You've got to know your vibration. You've got to understand your vibration. You got to identify your vibration. Am I low? Do I have a very low energy, or am I very upbeat and I'm very high energy? Identify that. Where are you at? And then it involves belief systems and truth systems. So this is that's where you kind of you know who you are, like how I'm speaking all this right now. I know who I am. I know that I believe in this, and this is what I do every day. So it's I know that it works for me. And if my perspective works for somebody else, then hopefully it resonates, and hopefully they can kind of make their own method, So, then there's empathy, and with empathy, it's exposure, emotion, and presence. So when you can expose yourself to different perspectives and expose yourself to more things, you will be more empathetic. When you understand your emotion, you will understand what other people's emotions entail. You know that. And then when you can maintain your sense of presence, you can actually listen to people. You can actually realize what they're telling you without judgment. You're there. You're there to listen. You're not focused on past. You're not focused on present. You're actually in the present. You're there. And so then there's awareness for ourselves. And with that, you have your process, your passion, and the humility. So this is where you when you finally get to your self-awareness, you've got to figure out a process that works for you every day. What's going to allow you to be the most efficient? What's going to allow you to hit all the goals that you're trying to hit with the whole momentum thing? And then it's your passion. Well, what are you passionate about? What are you what are you not doing every day that you could be to help lift your spirits just a little bit more? Because so many people feel they're just obligated, like you said earlier, to do so much things, and they can't say no. So it's they're just tied up. They can't do their passion. So it makes them feel like they can't be themselves. And then when you have humility to admit when you're wrong, and you can identify your ego and kind of realize hey, look, I need to just kind of throw that aside. It really teaches you more about who you are inside. Because you're not this facade that the illusionist, which is the ego, is putting out. You can see behind all the smoke and mirrors, and you see yourself, and you're you know what? Maybe I am in the wrong. Crap, I didn't think about that. Well, I'm sorry, you did. You showed a lot of humility coming to there, because you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to tell the dentist, you know what, I need to apologize. But it showed that level of humility, because you know yourself. You know you're not a bad person. You know you're not that type of person to just do that. So it's yeah, those are kind of the way that the cycle works. That's kind of what I always reflect on and think about kind of on a daily, and just kind of recenter myself.
Yeah. And I think, you were talking about self-awareness and empathy. Those are the two things that really resonate.
I don't know. This is.
You to,
Sorry.
You to sign them. I would love to have you sign them and put a little message in them, and then I want to give them away. I want to have you on the podcast, because I want to go through the book with you.
Okay.
I've been reading it, and I highlight certain things, and I want to go through different pages with you.
Oh, that'd be awesome, dude. That'd be awesome.
And then us get in the book, both of it in our hands, and going through different processes. And I want us to schedule some time. If it takes 2 hours, I don't care. I want to work through it, and because I feel like your book, what I love about your book is it's extremely practical. And it's anybody, it's not esoteric. It's not like you don't, and it's somebody should, you get these spiritual books sometimes and it's so like high level, you know, you write to the common people, you know, and I know you do rap, you know, music and stuff like that. And that's what I love about it because it has that flow of being, you know, 6-year-old could understand it. A 60-year-old could understand it. You know what I mean? But it has these eternal truths that are in them, you know, and it's bringing out this whole idea of, you know, fixing your mind, you know, like how can you do that with, and then there's steps. And then each of those steps you have like sub steps and you just wait for them. And then you tie it into, you know, a journey. And that's what we're going through, you know, in life. And, you know, we're going from that interstate in Florida from one to the other, you know, whether it's for 10 years or it's for, somebody was just talking to me earlier today and that, you know, their son died at 18, you know, and that's horrific, you know, and it's the 1-year anniversary. And it's just like, you know, that, you know, to imagine your child dying early, it's horrific. You know what I mean? I mean, you have children and, you know, to go through that whole process, you know, to me would seem like it would test every part of your fabric because, you know, as a dad, you would rather you die than them, you know, I mean, that's our whole story is that we would give our own lives, you know, and that's the story of, you know, with Jesus and God and, you know, him giving, you know, his son, you know, for us to have life. And, but at the end of the day, what I like about your book more than anything, and I encourage people to get it on Amazon. Are you going to have a Kindle version or is it just?
It's on Kindle too.
So, so it is on Kindle. Okay, cool.
It's on both. Yeah.
You don't have to just buy it. So somebody could go right now and download it.
Yes.
What's the name of the book?
It's called Jericho's Journey, a journey of self-discovery through progression.
So they could go to Amazon.com right now and type in Jericho's Journey.
Just type in Jericho's Journey. It'll be like the second thing to pop up, I think.
And then maybe we could do like if you don't mind, bro, we'll encourage people to buy the book and then we can start posting and then we'll do like a book club, go through the book chapter by chapter.
That'll be afternoon. That would be awesome.
Get some IPAs or something.
Dude, that would be so sick. Like, that would be epic.
You drink beer, bro?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
You drink like, what do you drink? Like,
I'll drink
Modelo, Bud Light?
I usually drink like Blue Moon.
Blue Moon. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I like Blue Moon. I like, double whites from I think it's Marble. Yeah.
Oh, really? I haven't had enough Marble to create a.
Oh, we'll get you some Blue Moon, meet some other ones. We're gonna go in the studio and we're gonna chapter by chapter.
Dude, that sounds epic. We'll schedule a time for sure.
That sounds cool. Well, I got another appointment, bro. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I got to go on a little drive, and I got to be there by 4. So
yeah, same. I got to go pick up my daughter right now, so it's all good.
School? Is it school? It's like school just started and everything. I saw that on your
Yeah. So she's like right down the road though, so I just got to go get in that long ass line and just wait pretty much until I get her, and then go get my son. And school's just crazy because of like the scheduling. Like I always got to like schedule things weird because I only have like a 9 to 2 realm realistically. Like it's just very odd. But
you're real active on Instagram, and if we don't mind, I'd like to share both of our Instagrams. But what's your Instagram?
At S Martinez IV.
Oh, okay. And then mine's real simple. It's ABQ Jason Rigby. So I have a white name, Jason, and then Rigby. RIGBY. It's very, very simple. You know, down south, we have to keep everything like one syllables, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
That's cool. Well, thanks, brother. I appreciate you bringing light, and I appreciate you having me on, and I just appreciate your book. And in 1 year, bro, you've written a book. In 1 year, you wrote a book. You started a podcast. You're producing tons of content that I need to like step up to plate. I just think you're doing amazing things, bro, and I'm really excited about everything you're doing.
I appreciate that, man. And like I said, you know, like that's why I love meeting people like you, is just because you never know what could come from it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
I have to write a damn book now. Damn you, bro.
Yeah, like, you know, so it's just like, dude, yeah, I love it, man. I love it. And I'm very grateful for the relationship that we've built over this past like almost year, probably like maybe 9 months or so, but whatever, like give or take. So I just really appreciate that. And I really appreciate you actually like paying attention and actually like sharing what resonates with you and like telling me and like being open about it and stuff, man. So thank you. Yeah. Sorry. My wife keeps calling me too. So sorry.
Oh no, let's get going, bro. Let's be done. It's awesome.
I'll send you this.
Thank you for joining us on the Albuquerque Business Podcast. And thank you to our sponsor, DukeCityMarketing.com. Please go to abqpodcast.com where you can get show notes, resources, and links to everything we talked about today to help you navigate your journey as an entrepreneur and business owner in Albuquerque.